definitely did not anticipate it to like hit this heavy.
No, that's exactly how I feel too. Like, I was preparing myself to be pushed back to January, but like I didn't think it was going to be like I thought it was just going to be, hey, you guys are pushed back, not like, hey, you have these three options and like everyone's going to choose different things. And within those three options there's like four different route options and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the really hard part to have us pick, even though that's kind of what we did in the first place. We picked to see which route we're doing, but it would have made it a lot more easier if they picked for us.
Right. I know, and I hate making decisions, so like just tell me what to do, honestly.
Yeah, I told Zaya, I was talking to Stephanie quite a bit this morning, and she's like really struggling to make a decision. And I'm like, girl, please stop. Like, you're going to make me start bawling, and I really don't want that to happen right now.
Dude, I mean, truthfully, I've been just avoiding like talking to people about it because I don't know. It's just like I feel like I know what I am supposed to do, so I don't want to ask other people what they're doing because then if it doesn't line up with what I'm doing, I'm just gonna be like heartbroken.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm still wrestling with what I'm supposed to do because I don't know if it's what I'm thinking is right. Like, it's just tough. All right, shall we get into it? I'm already recording in case you guys didn't see that. Yeah. All right, here we go. Welcome to More Than a Mission, a podcast where we explore what it looks like to discern God's calling to live an active, intentional life of sharing the gospel. Each week, we talk about the way God is moving in our lives, around the world, and everywhere in between, as well as how God's call to missions may apply to your life. Ready to explore your calling? What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the More Than a Mission podcast. My name is Micah Torgerson, and I'm joined, as always, by Zaya Henderson.
What's up, guys?
And Andrew Carlberg.
How you guys doing?
We've got kind of a different episode for you guys today, and I think it's going to be a good segue into us closing out our first season of the podcast as we all kind of get acclimated to the changes that could possibly be coming in regards to our world race journey and just our ministries and life on mission in general. For the three of us, we got some big news yesterday about our world race trip. So just kind of a quick recap. The three of us were supposed to be going on a mission trip around the world leaving in October. So just about in 2 months, we were supposed to leave to go to 11 different countries around the Pacific Rim, starting in Central America, going down to South America, and then over into Southeast Asia. However, due to COVID, we had been waiting on like a final update to what the plans were for our trip because everything was still up in the air. International travel is not really happening right now, especially for American citizens because the U.S. is kind of a hot spot. But yesterday we received an email with an update from the Adventures in Missions leadership team, and I think it was a lot different than what everyone expected. So we kind of wanted to just record this episode, diving into our feelings and our thought processes and what we're talking with the Lord about. Because for one, we know that it's not just us going through this situation and having to make this kind of decision. We're not the only squad out there that COVID is impacting. We're not the only mission trips out there that COVID is impacting. So we just wanted to be open and honest with you guys about what we're going through and how we're feeling and how we feel the Lord is still calling us to do something more. So we had already started talking about it, and I'm most definitely leaving that in the podcast episode. But Andrew, do you want to give us just a little rundown on what our email said yesterday and kind of the three options that Adventures in Missions Leadership has given us to move forward with our world race journey?
Yeah. So, I mean, for starters, I think what most of us expected was to just basically be told, like, hey, your squad is either starting in Georgia in October or, like, all of you are getting pushed to January. And just, like, kind of, we were expecting to, like, a decision to be made for us, essentially. And instead, what we got in the email is we have three options. And so, option one is we can continue in October, launch to different cities across the United States for October, November, December, and then hopefully go international at that point, starting in January for the remaining 8 months. Option two is we can delay till January, and there's like 3 different routes in January that we could choose from, one being like a classic route, which is similar to what we're on, one being an unscripted route, which is just like no plan, you figure it out, go as you're there, and one being the expedition route, which is like very heavily focused on evangelism. I might have mixed those up, but 3 routes in January, you can go to different places. And then option 3 is delay all the way till next August of 2021. And so even in, I think for me, we were talking about this before, I think it just hit a lot heavier than I was expecting, than I think any of us were expecting. I think we were feeling like prepared for change, but not really prepared to like watch our squad get split into all of these different ways between like, so we have 3 options, but because there's 3 January routes, there's like 5 options we have to choose from. And so to just like watch as we've like had this really beautiful community getting built leading up to actually going, now we're like watching it get split in all of these different directions. And it makes it hard to, one, wrestle with the Lord for like our own decisions, but then also just like heartbreaking to like build community so quickly and then like watch it potentially start to split away.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things that I've been going through like the last 24 hours since we got this email is like kind of just asking God why. Like we had all just come off this super incredible week pouring into each other. Like we had just about 20 of us all together in one place for like 4 or 5 days, and just all of those conversations and all the love that we were able to pour into each other and the growth that I had seen in myself and like through all of you guys as a unit is just crazy. And then for all this to happen and for it to be like, oh God, why did you bring us all together and build us all up for this? And now like you're tearing us apart. But at the same time, it's almost as if, I don't know, like God is just making this community that he's given me so much bigger. Like we've all gotten so close within our world race squad, and now we may be like going separate ways. But like the bond that we've created will never be broken. And yet we're going to have that same sense of community with what potentially like 6 or 7 more groups now. And I can only, like, I can't help but think that we're all going to be like integrated at some point. And so I'm just trying to look at the blessing of it and like see how much this like little splitting could grow in the future.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Zoo.
I agree with that. Like, even though we are splitting, it's just amazing how like we've grown so much together already, and how that's going to build when we're in different countries or different areas of our life. Like, I could, if I do launch in October, I could reach out to y'all if y'all delay to January. It's like, hey, like this is what's happening, and y'all can point me that way, and like, hey, this I can point you to this way as well. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Even though it is a split, there still be a bond that we can talk to each other and help each other grow in that way.
Yeah, we're gonna be all up on that WhatsApp. I think, I mean, I just, even what you're talking about, Mike, I think it was Timon who mentioned it last night on our call. Sorry if you hear that lawnmower, by the way. And just like the idea of like Paul in scripture, like in all of Paul's missionary journeys, he never stayed a single place more than like 3 years at one time. It was just constantly like get built to this really beautiful place of community and then instantly like get ripped away from there. And his own, like, even in that, then like the person he was with the whole time being Silas, there's even then a point where like Paul and Silas split, and Paul was going with some, or Paul and Barnabas split, and then Paul went with Silas. Like, there was so much of Paul's journey that was just like constantly building this beautiful community and then being torn apart from it. And but just then to like look at that bigger picture and see like how ridiculous like the number of churches and like the communities, like you look at all of those letters Paul wrote and like longing to go back to these places, just like so much beauty came, and like just the reality of like to grow, to multiply, like requires splitting. And like as hard and heartbreaking as it is, like there's a very clear biblical context of like the purpose for it. And so like I think for me, I like know that head knowledge at this point and like know that like that is the beauty and like the answer to all of the whys of like why this community has grown and is now splitting. I think the wrestling for me at this point is like getting it from the head, knowing it, to like my heart actually believing that like that is the good option. But yeah, I mean, I would say like I think even among the three of us, I think like the three of us are splitting, and at least like I know Zaya is going in October, and I know I'm not going in October, and I don't know. I mean, I think Micah, I think I know where you're leaning, but like even to know that the three of us are splitting is really hard.
Yeah, I think honestly, I didn't think I was going to be going like back and forth on this so much. But I don't know, like for me coming into the world race, it was always just more of a like I feel called to international missions, and like I want to explore that and see if there is something in ministry, in life and ministry outside of the US for me that's even greater than just an 11-month trip. So exploring that, but at the same time, like I never felt called to like leaving specifically in October or like going to the 11 specific countries that we were supposed to be going to. And I don't know if that makes making this decision any better or any worse, because I just keep thinking about the fact that like, okay, if I choose to defer to January and then, you know, December rolls around and we're hit with the same exact situation, like international travel has no plans of opening by January, like ministry partners wouldn't be ready for us. Like then what do I do? Like, I'm now forced with this same, presumably the same position where, okay, do I just start the mission in the States or push back to August? And it's like, how long can I just keep pushing things back? Like in hopes that eventually I will have the opportunity to do international missions? Or like, is this just God's way of telling me like, hey, I called you to go, and it doesn't matter where I'm sending you, you just have to go. And if international missions is truly something that like I'm called to, it will be there at some point. And I just keep like going back and forth about that. And truthfully, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I I think I feel similarly. I think the beauty of my position is that like I have the blessing of like delaying doesn't really change. I mean, other than the fact that I don't have a home right now and I'll be living out of a car, like my job will be there until I leave. And so I have this like built in, I don't even know if it's like a sense of security in like however long I delay. I think I've wrestled through that same thing. I think for me, the main thing that I'm wrestling through now is very similarly. I think like I didn't feel called to October specifically. I felt called to international missions, and the only reason I ended up in October rather than August is because I'm leaving tomorrow for my like to go to Colorado to celebrate my grandparents' 60th anniversary, and I wanted to be here for that. That's the only reason I ended up in October rather than August. And so I think for me, the thing the two that I'm like really wrestling between at this point are the like normal route in January, which is similar to what we're on, and then the route that is just like strictly evangelism in the 1040 window. As I mean, there's definitely a part of my heart that just like is on fire for one, evangelism, and two, like unreached people. And so I feel like those are the two that I'm like going back and forth between. And it's interesting because like if you had asked me 24 hours ago, my answer would have been 100% like classic January route. And now I don't think it's quite 50-50, but it's definitely swayed to like there's something to think about, not just like an obvious answer for me.
Yeah. I think another thing for me too is with not having this like specific call to specific countries or like the exact time frame of when to launch. The other like biggest factor in the world race is like your community, and just like growing with you guys in the last, gosh, it's been almost 10 months for me, I think, since I first joined the world race. It's been completely life changing, and I think as more time passes and like the more time we get to spend together, I think the Lord is showing me that more and more that there doesn't need to be like an organization involved, or there doesn't need to be like this big mission trip involved in order to live life on mission and like have this kind of missional community with other people. And I don't know, even thinking of after the world race and all of this, like I hate saying goodbyes and like I hate major I I don't know. It's very hard because I say I hate major life changes, but I feel like I'm always pursuing major life changes. So like just thinking past the world race, it's like what's going to happen to all of us in our community, and that was always something that I kind of feared, is that like we would all break off and go do our own things. And now just funny how we were hit with that before it even started. But I think one thing that I'm just trying to be faithful in is the fact that I know I know like the spiritual journey that I'm on, and that like the Lord is pulling me through, and the one that I need to go through. And I've come to the like terms with the fact that I can't do it by myself, and that like you guys have been pulling me through so much in the last few months. And so just trying to be faithful in continuing on with you guys, but not necessarily like shutting out the like not shutting out the chances that I'm going to develop the same kind of community with other people, say I were to choose a different route and be on a different squad than all of you guys. It's so hard to think about that, but
Yeah. Yeah, I was doing good. By doing good, I mean holding it all in. And then I talked to someone on our squad this morning, and she kept saying things, and I was just like, "Please stop," because I'm gonna start crying. And then, so I don't know. It's really heavy, and I think part of the heaviness too is like we have a week now. Like we have a week to try to make this decision, and I think like a lot of wrestling, even in that, just like the community is such a beautiful piece. It's just like how much of this decision like lets that get factored in, how much of this decision like clearly just has to be like me and the Lord and like being obedient to that. And I don't really know what I think the balance is in that. I do know that the answer in life is often that like the Lord just gives us freedom. That like I think we really overthink it so often, to think like I came to a fork in the road and like God had to say left or right, and I like had to pick whatever route he said. And I just think so often like the freedom that we're invited to like into as children is just like you choose. Like I bless both of these options. Like I just simply want to get to walk with you, and like I will be overjoyed to walk with you, whichever one you pick. And like as my child, I'm like literally giving you the freedom to like just decide. And so like that's comforting, but it also like almost doesn't make it any easier, because then like that means the decision is on me rather than just like, oh, the Lord made it really obvious, pick this one. It's just like really weird. Like it's super cool, but it's also like almost makes it more challenging in a way, because now the decision and like the emotional weight of it does feel like it's like on us to decide.
Yeah, I guess it's a lot harder for me since I did felt called to the October route, even though I felt that call before it was even published, and even more so because I felt called to like Southeast Asia. So it's kind of hard to change my decision, because even if I launch in October, I still have the chance of going to Southeast Asia. So it's very difficult to ignore that call, and I don't want to be disobedient unless I hear something else from God. I'm probably gonna end up launching in October, and that's gonna be super hard.
Yeah, man, that's the hardest thing. Like I keep talking to people who are in your exact same shoes, Zaya, and like they just felt called to leave in October, and it's hard for me to understand that because I never got that. But like I'm just so proud of you guys for recognizing that and being faithful to that call and just following the Lord's heart and where He wants to take you, even if it does mean that we won't be together.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the hardest part for me too is y'all have met me. Y'all know I'm like the most indecisive person on the planet. And like as bad as that can be sometimes, like I view it as an incredible gift to like not need to know what's going on, or like not need to have a plan, and like just always being able to say, hey, tell me this is what we're doing, and I'm going to make the most of it because I know that's like what God had for me. But now like I'm just stuck in this almost nightmare of like I know this is a decision that I have to make, um, and it might not line up with everyone else.
Yeah, so Michael will be deciding at midnight on Saturday.
Don't do that to me, man, because I know I'm going to. I procrastinate everything, and like I'm gonna be waiting to see what everyone else says.
Yeah, I feel like the issue for me. I feel like the issue for me is that I'm going to Colorado tomorrow and we'll be there like all week, and so I almost feel like I like literally have to make this decision tonight, because I don't really anticipate having time to. I'm gonna be with my family for the rest of the week, celebrating my grandparents. I don't really anticipate it being a place or like time or there to be space to like think and process, and so I've been like sitting here all morning talking to a few people and feel like I like literally have to decide by tonight, and I can tell you we have not made a decision yet.
As hard as this all is, I think I was just incredibly comforted by what Bree said on our call last night when we were all talking about this. Just in the sense of that, like what, as hard as this decision is, like what an incredible opportunity we have that like we've all been called to missions, and normally it's just like, okay, I feel this calling, I'm going here, I'm leaving at this time, this is what we're doing. But now it's like so much more than that. Like there is so much for us to do that God is giving us this choice to choose between all of these different options, and kind of just telling us like, hey, I can use you here, I can use you here, I can use you here, and I can also use you here. um, and just giving us that free will to choose like what we want to do and how we want to serve Him. So I think we should probably answer a question for all of our listeners out there. What's going to happen to the podcast?
Yeah.
Especially, if we all go even 2 or 3 separate ways, who knows what's going to happen. I think I shared this with Zaya last night when we were talking individually, and with both of you guys this morning when we were talking about recording this episode. But I am just incredibly thankful that we for one, that the Lord called us to start this platform, just because no matter what happens, like this is the entire like point of why we started this, right? Like it's more than just this mission trip that we were all called to go on. It's like it's about this complete life of missions, and it doesn't matter where any of the three of us are. Like we'll be able to use this platform to share what the Lord is doing and how he's working through each of us. So, I mean, I'm all in to keep this going. I don't know about you guys.
I'm all in also.
I'm all in also, but I will tell you, if I'm split from both of you, the editing for my podcasts are going to be way worse.
You just got to send me the file, man. I can do it. Just press that record button.
I got you.
And don't lose the file. Oh, man. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I'm going to tell y'all, I have gotten like absolutely nothing done in regards to work like the last 2 days. I just keep talking to people and like avoiding the actual conversations that I need to have, and just want to like curl up into a ball and cease to exist.
Same, and I'm only working 2 days. I was off all of last week. I was supposed to work yesterday and today, and then off all the rest of the week, and I've done like nothing.
Yeah. It's awful, dude. And then I logged out of my computer this morning and like it just flat out didn't work. I was like, come on, man.
Not with work, but I was telling Andrew this earlier. Like I was gonna edit the lake footage that we had, and I couldn't even look at it. I was like, no. Like I was just spend all day yesterday doing it, but after that email, I just had to shut it down. I couldn't do it anymore.
I know, man. And it's hard enough, like even after just leaving people, to go back and look at stuff, especially when like there were such great memories and all the fun and everything that we had. But now it's just like it feels like an added weight on top of all that. It's gonna be hard to go back and look at it, but I think at the same time I'll be able to put a lot more emotion into the way that I edit that and the story that I can tell with everything that we were able to capture that week.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, shall we end it here? Do we have anything else to share?
I think that's a wrap.
I think that's a wrap. Y'all just be faithful in your calling. Listen to God. Spend time with him. He'll tell you what to do. That's going to do it for season 1 of the More Than a Mission podcast. We're so appreciative of all of you guys who have tuned in and for all the feedback that we've gotten. And more than anything, we are incredibly excited to use this platform to share with you the journey that the Lord is taking us all on, whether that be together, separately, and for all the new people that God is going to introduce into our lives. So we can't thank you guys enough for following our journey, and just know that there's more to come.
We'll see you guys.
See ya.
Adios, everyone. We want to thank you for listening to More Than a Mission. For more information and to keep up with our ministries, follow us on social media at More Than a Mission Podcast, or email us directly at morethanamission@outlook.com.